make delicious homemade butter from raw cultured cream? Then stay tuned with me today to see just how we make this delicious butter here on our homestead. Thank you for joining us. Today we will be making homemade butter from our raw cream that we get here on our property from our Jersey milk cow. If you're not familiar with how you get raw cream from raw milk, you skim it off the top, and that's what this is. This is about a quart, and this is from yesterday's milking. And Cody and I have been kind of exploring how to make butter that tastes more like store-bought butter that we're used to, and that's because neither one of us were raised on a farm. That's what we're used to, the taste of. And so we tried many things, but I'm here to share with you today what we feel like has worked the best and gives you delicious butter that tastes very buttery, and that is a trick: culturing your cream, which sounds like it would be horrible, because what they want you to do to culture raw cream is leave it on your counter for at least 24 hours. So that sounds like it would be awful, so it was the last method we tried. And it actually turned out great, and it's been our favorite so far. So I hope you have as much luck with this as we have. So if you want to just follow along, I'll show you the process. What you're going to need is you're going to need raw cream. You're also going to need some sort of butter churn. We actually have an amazing butter churn that we purchased off of Wise Man Trading Company. And this is, I've gotten a lot of questions about it, so I'll talk a little bit about it. It's a Buttermeister churn. This is the 1 gallon. They also sell a 2 gallon. The 2 gallon, we have both. But the 2 gallon is a lot, unless you just have multiple milk cows. I don't think you would really necessarily need it, but we do have both. But the best thing about this butter churn is that it is quiet. So I can make butter when my little boy is napping and there isn't some food processor or KitchenAid screaming in the background and we have to go outside because it is so loud. So that's my favorite part about this. If you don't have one of these, you can use your KitchenAid, you can use a food processor, and there are plenty of YouTube videos showing you how to do that. But we are not sponsored at all by Wise Man Trading Company or Buttermeister, but I do think this is a product that you would love if you purchased it, and give it a try for sure. I'd love to be sponsored, but no. Okay, so you'll need your butter churn, some sort of butter churn. You're also gonna need cold ice water. Some people will, this is filtered water from our refrigerator. Some people will just use it on cold sink water. Our sink water isn't very cold, and I have found that actually icing filtered water seems to work the best. During my process of making butter, I usually have to fill this up 3 times and rinse it with that amount of water. You'll need a catch container. That's what I have here. You'll need this to catch your buttermilk, because you're going to separate your butter and your buttermilk, so the buttermilk will drain into here. This is a strainer that I have to catch the butter, and then you will you can save the buttermilk and cook with it, give it to your other animals, livestock, whatever you want to do with it. We actually put it on our garden here. We don't use buttermilk enough to cook with it really, but you can. And then we will rinse it in the strainer with the cold water. I have a butter press that I will use after pressing. You can press your butter with wooden spoons or, and we do both. I use my hands. Wooden spoons are recommended, but I use clean washed hands. And then I have this butter press to also use that my husband built. He did a really fancy job. But it kind of molds it, but it really I usually do this at the end after I've pressed it with my hands to just make sure I really get all that buttermilk out, because that is actually the most important step when you're making homemade butter, is getting the buttermilk out, or your butter will spoil really quickly, and you don't want to spend all this time making homemade butter for it to just go bad in 1 or 2 days. So that should be everything you need. Let's get started. Okay, so step 1 is going to be putting your cream into your butter churn. This cream has sat out for 24 hours, so it is cultured raw cream from our Jersey cow. Okay, it kind of already smells buttery. Okay, I'm pregnant, so my nose is good for smell. Twist this on. The only thing that I wish that this would have came with is you plug it in to turn it on. I wish it had an on-off switch, but can't complain too much. This thing's awesome. It'll probably turn it to butter in just a couple minutes. Like literally last time it was like 2 minutes. I was shocked. So quiet, and you can literally put a towel underneath it to make it even quieter. Once you have your cream in the butter churn, you'll see that it goes through different phases. It'll kind of turn into like a whipped consistency. It'll get thicker, and then all of a sudden, and depending on which butter churn you're using, this takes a different amount of time, and also it depends on how warm or cool your cream is. But then it'll separate out. You'll see solid butter form, which is the last phase, and all the buttermilk separate, and it's really neat to watch. Be a fun experiment with kids too. This butter churn makes life so easy. So if you are using a KitchenAid and you don't have that splatter guard, you're like draping towels over it and everything because cream's just splattering everywhere. So that was one of the negative things I didn't like about the KitchenAid. We also had, we tried it with the food processor, and the food processor did a really good job. It was a lot of parts to clean, and it was extremely loud. That was that's the two things I really didn't like about it. And with the way we're doing this, we have to make butter at least once a week, and so it is nice that I can do this while my child is napping. You helping mommy make butter?
You should see this lighting.
Yeah. Do you like butter? Yeah. What do we put butter on? Tacos. We put it on waffles. That's right. Do we put it on our potatoes? Oh, look, it's turning into butter. See it turning yellow? Is that going to be some yummy butter?
Do we put butter on popcorn?
There it goes. And then I let it go for a little bit longer just to make sure it gets it out pretty good.
How long has it been going?
3.5 minutes. It took about 3.5 to 4 minutes for this to go from raw cream to butter and buttermilk. And typically, if you're making sweet cream butter, which is not cultured, that's when it's only been sitting out for maybe 30 minutes to an hour on your counter. It hasn't warmed up a whole lot. It took, with this machine, it took at least 30 minutes. So it cut the time down substantially. That's one of my favorite things about the cultured cream as well, just because it does cut down on the amount of time it's going to take. Now what really just takes the most amount of time is just washing this butter and making sure you get all that buttermilk out. So that's what we're going to do next. Take our lid off. You're going to pour into your strainer and let the buttermilk go into your catch container. So once you've strained it, you've got to wash it and press it. Now it's time to rinse my butter. This is the first initial rinse. Now you could have saved that buttermilk. I'm just letting my water go straight into my buttermilk because, like I said, this just goes into our garden. Okay, so that's one rinse. Then I kind of move it around with my wooden spoons. You can see that the whole point of this rinsing is to get that buttermilk out. So once the water that is coming out of there, you can see that it's milky still. Once that is clear, that means you've gotten all the buttermilk out. So that's what we're trying to accomplish. All right, so now I'm gonna rinse it some more. Okay. like to press it. I've washed my hands, and I like to press it with my hands. I know some people might not like that. It is the easiest way to do this at your house. So now I'm going to use the butter press that my husband made just to ensure I get most of the buttermilk out. Just an extra insurance. If you don't have it, it's not necessary. But it is nice. Very great. Okay, so now I'm going to take my press once more, put the parchment paper inside that, and then put my butter's in there, and now I like to press it onto another parchment surface. You do want to make sure that whatever this butter comes in contact with is clean, so that's why I just like to get a new piece of parchment paper or something out. And then I just press down. This is completely optional step. If you don't have one of these, don't worry. You can just rinse it more and press it with your hands or with wooden spoons. I just like to press it real hard, put my weight into it, which is increasing daily with the pregnancy. It's not the butter's fault. Alright, let's see. Looks like it got a very little bit out, but this is really nice looking. So, from here, I might rinse it just one more time, and then you can form it into, I'm going to rinse it one more time just to keep it cool and make sure any of that buttermilk that did squeeze out is gone. And then your butter can be salted at this point, which is what we like to do because it does preserve it for longer. They say a teaspoon of salt per pound of butter. So I am going to weigh this real fast, where I'll kind of have an estimate and know. And so we have half a pound of butter here. So I will use, we like it a little bit saltier, so I will use a little bit more than half a teaspoon. And then once you've added your salt, you can either form it into a butter log, into parchment paper, just wrap it up, or you can put it in some sort of butter container. This is something we like to use and then just scoop it out of it. So I'm going to add salt. There's still some liquid, so I'll probably rinse it one more time. Like I said, I'm kind of paranoid, so I rinse it a lot more than I used to. Now, we have butter. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this, and I hope your family enjoys this butter just as much as my family and I do. God bless.